My name is Cecilia Poullain. Welcome to the Pathway to Partnership podcast, where we talk about what it really takes to succeed as a woman lawyer in a law firm. Yesterday, I had lunch with a 5-year PQE, and she told me that a good weekend was when she had 2 half days off. Most of the time, she's working late into the night and all weekend. Those looking at partnership are wondering how they can do it all, and many are asking themselves whether they even want to. Welcome to the Pathway to Partnership podcast, where we talk about what it takes to build a successful, fulfilling career as a woman lawyer. My name is Cecilia Poullain. I'm a former finance lawyer, and I now help women lawyers make it to partnership on their own terms. In each episode, I share tools, strategies, and stories that help you build your confidence, master client development, and build a practice and life that you love. Okay, let's dive in. I have a friend who set up her practice as a sole practitioner. And before she went solo, she deliberately kept her living costs low so that she could work the hours that suited her. She still earns a very decent living and has a wonderful life. I've also heard of a law firm in Paris that offers a very low billable hour target, and the quid pro quo is a lower salary compared to other firms. And I understand that they are flooded with candidates. I've never been able to find the name of the firm, but if anyone knows it, please contact me. These stories are few and far between. The more common story is long hours in the office. Yesterday, I had lunch with a 5-year PQE, and she told me that a good weekend was when she had 2 half days off. Most of the time, she's working late into the night and all weekend. Those who are looking at partnership in major firms are wondering how they can do it all, especially if they find themselves on the partnership track at the same time as they're starting a family or having young children, or perhaps are caring for aging parents. Many sole practitioners have a to-do list as long as your arm. What law firms might do to attract and keep talent and provide a better work-life balance, and how sole practitioners decide to structure their practices are topics for another episode. What I want to talk about today is what systems you can put in place to get better organized if you do have way much to do on your plate. I know exactly what it's like because that was me. I'm interested in a ton of different things, and as soon as I have ideas, I'm ready to jump in and implement, thinking that I can do it all. But the truth is, I can't, or at least not all at once. I've had to learn to prioritize, to focus on building my business in my niche, and create time management systems that keep me on track. And my clients are exactly the same. They want to do it all. They want to write a book, be on boards, run associations, be there for their children, have a clean, tidy house, get to the gym, take on that extra client, post regularly on LinkedIn, attend conferences, take potential clients out to lunch. Just listing it all is exhausting. They believe that if they are more efficient, they will be able to fit it all in. And women lawyers absolutely love efficiency, but they hugely overestimate how much they can realistically do. So they keep on adding things to their to-do lists. And at best, they get more and more frustrated that they can't get it all done and start dropping plates. And at worst, they burn out. Everyone has a breaking point, even you, and it's just a question of when and whether you reach it. Now, I want to be really clear about this. Burnout is not a small percentage risk for lawyers. It is massive. Here are some statistics. In France, almost 50% of lawyers say they have already been close to burnout. In the US in 2024, 42% of lawyers reported feeling burnt out. In Australia, 70% reported experiencing burnout in 2024. So this is a big, big deal for this profession. If you look at the people around you at work, we're talking about the person in the next office, and also the person 2 offices down, and then the person 2 offices down from them. We're talking about you. The other mistake I see people making is that they don't have proper systems in place. They write things on Post-its and stick them up around their computer screen or on their desks. Every day they write a new to-do list on their notepad. They open all their emails as soon as they come in and treat them one by one without prioritizing them in any way. They react to the latest emergency. In this episode, I want to share 3 techniques that have worked for me and my clients in getting the way that we use our time under control. Here's the first exercise, and it's extremely simple. It's the 4 Ds. Do, delay, delegate, or drop. And the way it works is pretty obvious. You list everything you have to do, then decide whether you will do it, delay it, delegate it, or drop it. And that's the quickest way to get things off your to-do list altogether and to focus on your top priorities. It also helps you recognize that you actually cannot do it all, which means that some things won't ever get done. So it's way better to recognize this up front than to maintain unrealistic expectations for yourself or to create a reputation for yourself as someone who is unreliable. The 4 Ds can be used in combination with the second exercise, which is known by the acronym ICE. I've added an extra E on the end and called it ICE. So ICE stands for impact, cost, energy, and my addition is enjoyment. And here's how it works. Once you've run your to-do list through the 4 Ds, you then list everything that's left in the first column of a spreadsheet. In the second column, you estimate the impact of each item on the list in relation to your overall goal. If it's not going to have much impact, you put a 1. If it's going to have a massive impact, you put a 10. So that's the I in the impact column. In the next column, the C column, you rate the financial cost of the item. So it's how much will it actually cost you to do that. And then the next column, you decide how much energy it's going to require. And in the last column, how much you expect to enjoy it. And as you work through the list, you'll probably need to go backwards and forwards and adjust. And in a way, that's the whole point. Because really what you're doing is working out what's the most important compared to everything else. So say your current goal is to build your client base. The first item in the list might be write a book. And you decide to give it 10 for impact, 4 for cost, 10 for energy, and 3 for enjoyment, because you don't really enjoy writing books very much. The second item on the list might be run a conference for 20 ideal clients. You decide to give that 7 for impact, 6 for cost, 5 for energy, and 10 for enjoyment, because you really love that sort of thing. So you can see that even if the impact of the conference over time is lower and the cost is higher, it's going to take way less energy, be a whole lot more fun, and still have a reasonable impact. So that's telling you that you might want to either delay writing the book or drop it altogether. And as you go down the list, you'll probably find additional things that you can delay, delegate, or drop. So they're the first 2 exercises and ICE. Once you've done with those exercises, you should have a good idea of your top priorities. And here's the third exercise, and for me, it's been an absolute game changer. So every Friday afternoon, I have 90 minutes blocked out in my calendar for planning my week. And I do all sorts of things in that planning session. I look at where I am on my big projects. I make sure everything is on track for my kids. I think about planning holidays and weekends, check my diary for the next few weeks in case there's anything I need to prepare, and so on and so on and so on. And once I've done all that, I then block out times in my calendar for the next week for everything that I need to do. So for example, this morning I had half an hour blocked out for booking some medical appointments and ordering a new desk chair. And that might sound slightly obsessive and a little bit like control freaky, but those things have been on my to-do list for ages and they weren't getting done. So there's a saying, if it's not in your diary, it's not in your life. And I'm finding that to be incredibly true. So I put those things in my diary. They've been in my life, and now I've finally got them off my to-do list. The problem with only working with a to-do list is that we're perpetually mixing up planning and execution. When we have a dedicated planning session, as I do on Friday afternoons, we're able to use that time to plan our week. And then when we get around to Monday morning, we can then simply execute the plan without spending a lot of time making decisions. We know what we need to do when. And another major advantage of blocking out time is that it can be a huge wake-up call. When you have put in your calendar how much time it takes to look after your aging parents, for example, you might realize that if you're getting your business up and running, you simply cannot afford that time and will need to pay for more help. When you can visually see everything that you need to do, including cooking dinner, dealing with home admin, meeting clients, organizing a conference, drafting those pleadings, doing research, going to the gym, or whatever it might be, then it makes it way, way easier to say no, because you can visually see that there's no time for those things. And of course, your priorities are going to change over the week. But again, by having it all on your calendar, you can see what impact that new file coming in will have on other priorities. And this will also give you greater leverage in negotiating what work you can actually take on, because you can see the impact on other clients. It may be that after looking at what you can actually fit in this week, you can go back over the 4Ds and IC and find more things to take off your list. And you can see that by using these 3 techniques, your time will be spent on the real needle-moving activities that only you can do, where you add an enormous value and, added bonus, you should be having a whole lot more fun doing it. Okay, let's recap. We've talked about how to establish your priorities using the 4Ds and IC. We've talked about managing your time using a time management tool, which is your calendar. We've talked about blocking a planning session in your calendar so that you separate out planning time, make sure that everything is captured, and feel more relaxed about the week coming up. Okay, that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that today's episode will help you feel more in control of your time and, more importantly, more in control of your life. If you know another lawyer who is doing way too much, please share this episode with her. And let's together help more women make it to partnership and thrive when they get there. If you'd like to stay in touch, head over to www.ceciliapoullain.com. You'll find a free guide with some ideas about what it requires to become a partner. Thanks again. See you next episode.